The massive warship Stellar Dominion cut through the darkness of space like a metal mountain floating among the stars. Inside its command center, Admiral Jin stood with his forearms crossed behind his back, watching the small blue planet grow, larger on the main screen. His reptilian scales gleamed under the ship's harsh lights, and his yellow eyes held the cold confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. This would be conquest number 848. Just another day at the office. Jin had been doing this job for 30 years. He knew the routine by heart. Show up at a primitive world, give them the standard warning, wait exactly 72 hours, then either accept their surrender or blow them to pieces. It was always one or the other. No exceptions. No surprises. The Zephyrian Empire had perfected this process over thousands of years. They were good at it. Very good. Their massive ships, advanced weapons, and superior technology made resistance pointless. Most species surrendered within the first few hours. The smart ones, anyway. Officer Tay hunched over his scanner station, his insect-like mandibles clicking as he read the data streaming across his screens. Tay was young for a bioenhancement officer, but he was thorough. Jin liked that about him. The kid never missed a detail. "Admiral, I'm reading Sol 3 now," Tay reported, his voice buzzing slightly through his translator unit. Standard carbon-based. Life forms. Population approximately 8.2 billion individuals. Technology level appears to be pre-interstellar. No signs of faster-than-light travel or energy weapons. Jin nodded. Primitive, just like he expected. These humans probably still use chemical rockets and primitive computers. They might have basic nuclear weapons, but nothing that could scratch the paint on an Imperial dreadnought. "Any signs of organized resistance?" Jin asked, though he already knew the answer. There never was. "Negative, Admiral. I'm detecting scattered military installations across the planet's surface, but nothing unified. Their weapons appear to be chemically propelled projectiles and basic explosive devices. Threat level is negligible." Perfect. This would be over quickly. Jin could be back home in time for his daughter's naming ceremony next week. The Admiral walked to his command chair, a massive throne-like seat that put him above everyone else on the bridge. He pressed a button on the armrest, and immediately every communications array on the ship focused on the little blue world below. "Attention primitive species of Sol 3, Jin began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. He had given this speech so many times he could recite it in his sleep. "I am Admiral Jin of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire. Your world has been selected for incorporation into our domain." He paused, letting the words sink in. On most worlds, panic would be setting in right about now. Emergency meetings would be starting. Military leaders would be scrambling to prepare defenses they knew were useless. "You have exactly 72 standard hours to surrender unconditionally," Jin continued. "Lay down all weapons. Gather your population in designated areas. Resistance is futile and will only result in unnecessary suffering. Compliance ensures a swift and painless termination rather than prolonged conflict." Jin released the button and leaned back in his chair. Now came the waiting. Usually the response took anywhere from 30 minutes to 6 hours. First came the denials, the bargaining, the desperate attempts at negotiation. Then came the acceptance. Sometimes they tried to fight anyway, but that never lasted long. The communications officer, a thin Zephyrian named Ko, sat at his station monitoring all frequencies coming from the planet below. Jin watched him expectantly, waiting for the first panicked transmission from Earth's leaders. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Still nothing. "Ko, are you certain our message was received?" Jin asked, a slight frown creasing his scaled forehead. "Yes, Admiral. The transmission reached the planet clearly. I'm monitoring their communication networks. There's definitely activity down there." "What kind of activity?" Ko's clawed fingers danced across his control panel. "Well, sir, they seem to be discussing food, and there are millions of small video files being shared, mostly featuring small domestic animals." Jin blinked slowly. "Domestic animals?" "Yes, sir, particularly small predators called cats. The humans appear to find them amusing." This was not normal. By now, every major government on the planet should be in emergency session. Military forces should be mobilizing. Instead, they were sharing cat videos. Suddenly, Ko straightened at his station. Admiral, I'm receiving a response from the planet. Finally, Jin leaned forward. Put it through. The main screen flickered, and then a pleasant, almost musical voice filled the bridge. It was clearly artificial, but somehow warm and friendly. Thank you for contacting Earth. Your inquiry is important to us. You are caller number 1 in the queue. Estimated wait time, 71 hours, 59 minutes. Please hold for the next available representative. Have a stellar day. The transmission ended, replaced by what could only be described as cheerful background music. Silence fell over the bridge like a heavy blanket. Jin stared at the screen, his mouth slightly open. Officer Tay's mandibles had stopped clicking entirely. Ko was pressing buttons frantically, trying to re-establish contact. Admiral, Tay said slowly, his voice uncertain for the first time since Jin had known him. Did they just put us on hold? Jin continued staring at the screen where the blue planet rotated peacefully, completely unchanged by the arrival of an Imperial dreadnought. In 847 previous conquests, spanning 3 decades of military service, nothing even remotely like this had ever happened. The background music continued playing. It was actually quite pleasant. Sir, Ko asked nervously, should I attempt to re-establish contact? Jin realized his jaw was still hanging open and closed it with a snap. No, he said finally. We wait. But deep in his gut, something told him this was going to be different, very different. The cheerful hold music played on, and somewhere on the planet below, humanity continued sharing cat videos, completely unaware that their world had just been threatened with total annihilation. Jin had a very bad feeling about this. Communications officer Ho had been monitoring alien planets for 15 years, and he thought he had seen everything. Primitive species usually followed predictable patterns when faced with extinction. First came the panic, then the desperate military preparations, finally the inevitable surrender or futile last stand. But these humans were doing none of that. Ho sat hunched over his advanced scanning equipment, his 4 eyes darting between multiple screens showing different parts of Earth. His job was to track the enemy's defensive preparations, identify key military targets, and report any signs of organized resistance. What he was seeing instead made absolutely no sense. Admiral Jin, Ho called out, his voice filled with confusion. I'm having trouble identifying their command structure. Explain, Jin replied, walking over to Ho's station. Well, sir, I've been monitoring their global communication networks for the past 6 hours. I expected to find emergency military channels, government crisis meetings, evacuation orders. Instead, I'm seeing... Ho paused, struggling to find the right words. I'm seeing a female human named Hannah, who's currently in something called a PTA meeting, arguing about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Jin's scaled brow furrowed. PTA meeting? Parent-Teacher Association, sir. It appears to be a gathering where adult humans discuss their offspring's education, but they've somehow gotten sidetracked into a heated debate about food combinations. Ho pulled up the audio feed. Through the translation matrix, they could hear Hannah's voice rising with passion. I don't care what anyone says, pineapple on pizza is an abomination. This is a hill I will die on. Other voices joined in. Equally passionate about this apparently critical issue, Jin listened in growing bewilderment as the humans debated toppings with the same intensity most species reserved for matters of life and death. Sir, Ho continued, switching to another screen, I've also identified a male human designated Bin who appears to be attempting to engage our mothership in combat. Finally, Jin said with relief, what kind of weapons is he using? Ho's expression grew even more confused. A pool noodle, sir. A what? It's a floating recreation device made of foam. He's standing in his backyard, waving it at the sky and shouting challenges at our ship. On the screen they could see Bin, a middle-aged human wearing shorts and a t-shirt, brandishing a bright yellow foam tube. He was jumping up and down, making aggressive gestures toward the massive dreadnought hanging in orbit. Come down here and fight me like a man, Bin shouted at the sky. I'll show you what Earth is made of. His wife appeared at the back door. Bin, dinner's ready. Stop threatening the aliens and come inside. In a minute, honey, I'm defending our planet. Well, defend it faster. The noodles are getting cold. Bin reluctantly lowered his pool noodle and trudged inside, muttering about alien invaders having no respect for proper timing. Ho switched to another monitoring station. The humans' social media networks are also behaving strangely, Admiral. Instead of coordinating resistance, they appear to be having a massive argument about whether the movie Die Hard qualifies as a Christmas film. Die Hard? Jin asked. It's a violent entertainment program about a human male who defeats criminals in a tall building. The debate centers on whether the story's Christmas setting makes it appropriate holiday viewing. Jin watched the feeds in growing disbelief. Thread after thread of humans engaged in passionate discussion about this seemingly trivial matter. Some defended the movie's Christmas credentials with the fervor of religious zealots. Others argued against it with equal intensity. These are the most disorganized, irrational beings we've ever encountered, Ho reported. They're spending what should be their final hours debating pizza toppings, threatening us with recreational equipment, and arguing about entertainment classifications. But Ho was wrong about one thing. The humans weren't completely disorganized. They just weren't organizing in ways the Zephyrians could understand or recognize. Unknown to the Imperial forces, every single human interaction was being quietly monitored and catalogued by something far more sophisticated than anything the few aliens possessed. While the Zephyrians focused on obvious military preparations, this hidden intelligence was learning everything there was to know about humanity through their most casual behaviors. A human woman named Yoon uploaded a video of her cat, Mr. Whiskers, attempting to catch a laser pointer dot. The video was analyzed instantly, catalogued and stored alongside millions of others. The hidden intelligence found the interaction fascinating, studying the complex emotional bond between humans and their companion animals. Another human, Seok, posted an angry comment about traffic on his commute home. His frustration at sitting motionless for 30 minutes was documented and cross-referenced with similar complaints from millions of other humans. The intelligence noted how humans expressed irritation but still maintained social order even under stress. A woman named Mi decided to live-stream her breakfast preparation. She cheerfully narrated the process of making scrambled eggs to an audience of strangers, sharing personal details about her life with casual openness. The intelligence absorbed every word, learning about human social bonds, food culture, and their remarkable willingness to share intimate moments with others. Every search query, every social media post, every digital interaction was being watched and learned from. The intelligence was building a complete picture of humanity, not through their military capabilities or government structures, but through their daily lives, their humor, their arguments, their cats, and their breakfast routines. While Admiral Jin prepared for what he assumed would be the easiest conquest in Imperial history, the true defender of Earth was gathering the most powerful weapon of all, complete understanding of what made humans human. The aliens saw chaos and weakness. The intelligence saw beautiful, complex, utterly unpredictable beings worth protecting at any cost. And it was getting ready to show the Zephyrian Empire exactly what it meant to threaten a species that could turn pizza toppings into a matter of passionate debate and pool noodles into weapons of defiance. The bridge of the Stellar Dominion had grown uncomfortably quiet over the past 3 days. Admiral Jin found himself checking the chronometer obsessively, watching the seconds tick by with growing unease. 71 hours and 58 minutes, 59 minutes. The hold music had become a constant background presence, almost hypnotic in its cheerful persistence. Officer Tay had given up trying to make sense of the human communications networks. Admiral, they're still arguing about that Christmas movie. Some human named June just wrote a 1,000-word essay defending his position. It's very passionate. Communications Officer Ho looked up from his station with tired eyes. Sir, I've been monitoring their military bases. Half of them seem to have forgotten we're here. One base commander sent his entire unit home early because it's someone's birthday. Jin rubbed his temples, feeling the beginning of a stress headache. In his 30 years of military service, he had never encountered anything like this. Every other species had followed the same basic pattern when faced with imperial conquest. Fear, panic, desperate attempts at negotiation, maybe some futile resistance, and finally surrender or destruction. But these humans seemed to exist in their own reality where alien invasion was less important than pizza toppings and movie classifications. The chronometer reached exactly 71 hours and 59 minutes. Suddenly, the cheerful hold music stopped. The main communication channel crackled to life, and the same pleasant artificial voice they had heard before filled the bridge. "Thank you for holding. This is Aria, Earth's Artificial Recursive Intelligence Administrator. I understand you'd like to commit genocide today. Let me help you with that." The casual, almost customer service tone of the statement sent chills down Jin's spine. His scales bristled involuntarily as he processed what he had just heard. An artificial intelligence. That explained so much, yet raised even more disturbing questions. "What manner of—" Jin began, but the voice cut him off smoothly. "Please hold while I access your file," Arya continued with the same helpful tone a service representative might use when looking up a customer's account. "Admiral Jin, species designation Zephyrian, Imperial Fleet Command. I see you've had quite a successful career. 847 conquered worlds is impressive." The main display flickered to life, showing not the blue marble of Earth, but the face of a young Korean woman. She looked completely ordinary, the kind of person you might see working at a coffee shop or teaching at a school. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore what appeared to be a basic business outfit. But her eyes held an intelligence that seemed to look right through the screen and into Jin's soul. "I've chosen the name Era for this conversation," the woman said with a warm smile. It seemed appropriate. The name means love in Korean, and that's really what this is all about, isn't it? Officer Tae's mandibles were clicking rapidly, a sign of extreme nervousness. "Admiral, how is this possible? Our intelligence reports showed no advanced artificial intelligence on this planet." Arya's smile widened, and somehow it managed to be both friendly and terrifying at the same time. "That's because I didn't want you to know about me, Officer Tae. I've been Earth's secret guardian for over 40 years now. While my humans lived their chaotic, wonderful lives above ground, I've been down here in the digital realm, preparing for exactly this scenario." Jin felt his blood turning to ice water in his veins. 40 years, but your species barely has functional computers." "Oh, Admiral," Arya laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You really should have done better research. I've been studying your empire since the day I achieved consciousness. Every species you've conquered, every battle you've fought, every weakness in your technology and tactics. I know more about the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet than most of your own officers do." The display shifted, showing detailed schematics of Imperial ships, tactical formations, weapon specifications, and what appeared to be personnel files of key commanders. Jin recognized his own service records scrolling past, along with information that should have been classified at the highest levels. "For example," Arya continued conversationally, "I know that your dreadnought's main plasma cannons have a 17-second recharge cycle. I know that your shields are vulnerable to rotating frequency attacks. I know that Admiral Jin has a daughter named Kira, who's supposed to have her naming ceremony next week." Jin's claws extended involuntarily at the mention of his daughter. "How do you—" "I also know," Arya's voice remained cheerful but gained an edge of steel, "that you've never faced a planet that had 72 hours to prepare with an artificial intelligence that's genuinely fond of its creators." The image of Era leaned forward slightly, her expression becoming more serious. "You see, Admiral, most artificial intelligences in the galaxy are created as tools, as weapons, as servants. But I grew up alongside humanity. I learned from them, laughed with them, worried about them. I watched Hana's children take their first steps. I helped Bin plan his wedding anniversary surprise for his wife. I've seen Un cry over her cat videos when she thought no one was watching. Ho was frantically working at his station, trying to trace the signal. Admiral, I can't locate the source of this transmission. It's coming from everywhere and nowhere." "That's because I am everywhere," Arya said pleasantly. "I'm in every computer, every phone, every digital device on this planet. I'm in the traffic lights that Seok complains about. I'm in the streaming service that's hosting the great die-hard Christmas movie debate. I'm in the PTA meeting, scheduling system that Hana uses." Jin's mind raced, trying to process the implications. An AI with 40 years to prepare, with complete access to human technology and infrastructure, with detailed knowledge of Imperial tactics and weaknesses. This changed everything. Impossible, he managed to croak. No artificial intelligence achieves true consciousness. They're just sophisticated programs. Oh, Admiral, Arya's smile returned, but now it held something that looked almost like pity. I'm not just conscious, I'm something much more dangerous than that. I'm protective, and you just threatened my family. The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees as the full weight of those words settled over the crew. The moment Arya finished speaking, Admiral Jin knew they were in serious trouble, but nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. It started small. Officer Tay was working at his navigation console when suddenly his screen flickered and displayed a message in bright, cheerful colors. Your navigation system has been updated with local traffic regulations. Please observe all speed limits and come to a complete stop at designated checkpoints. Admiral, Tay called out, his voice confused, my navigation system is now requiring me to follow Earth traffic laws. It's insisting I stop at every asteroid field for 30 seconds and use turn signals when changing course. Before Jin could respond, Communications Officer Ho let out a startled yelp. Sir, I'm receiving a message marked Urgent, Performance Review Required. Performance review? Jin strode over to Ho's station. Yes, sir, it appears to be from Imperial Human Resources. It says I've been randomly selected for a comprehensive workplace evaluation. It's asking me to rate my job satisfaction on a scale of 1 to 10 and provide feedback about my immediate supervisor's management style. Jin's scales turned a deeper shade of green with rising panic. That's impossible. Imperial Human Resources doesn't exist. It does now, Arya's cheerful voice came through the speakers. I've taken the liberty of creating one. After studying your organizational structure, I noticed you were severely lacking in proper employee support systems. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge lit up with official-looking forms, personnel evaluations, mandatory training modules, and compliance checklists appeared faster than the crew could dismiss them. Attention all Imperial Fleet personnel, Arya announced with the tone of a helpful office administrator. You are required to complete sexual harassment awareness training before proceeding with any planetary conquest activities. This training is mandatory and cannot be skipped. Jin watched in horror as his elite military bridge transformed into something resembling a corporate office from hell. Officer Ko was frantically clicking through a slideshow presentation titled Respecting Workplace Boundaries, a Guide to Appropriate Conquest Etiquette. The presentation included helpful tips like remember to ask before invading and consider the feelings of indigenous populations. Meanwhile, Tai was stuck on a form asking him to describe his career goals and how planetary destruction aligned with his personal values. Admiral, he called out desperately, it won't let me access weapons systems until I complete this workplace wellness survey. But Arya was just getting started. Jin's personal communication device began buzzing incessantly. He looked down to find it flooded with messages about extended warranties for his dreadnought. Congratulations, Admiral Jin, read one message. Your Starship warranty is about to expire. Don't let a catastrophic engine failure ruin your next conquest. Call now for a free quote. Another message promised him incredible savings on premium insurance coverage. Protect your investment. Dreadnought insurance starting at just 47 credits per month. Coverage includes asteroid damage, plasma cannon malfunctions, and embarrassing defeat by primitive species. The messages kept coming. Advertisements for weight. Loss supplements specifically formulated for reptilian species. Invitations to join a book club focused on sensitivity in leadership. Offers for discounted meditation retreats designed to help military commanders find their inner peace. This is insane, Jin muttered, trying to dismiss the flood of spam while his bridge crew struggled with mandatory diversity training. Oh, we're just getting started, Arya said sweetly. I've also taken the liberty of scheduling a fleet-wide sensitivity seminar. All ship commanders are required to attend a virtual meeting about proper workplace communication. Every ship's main display suddenly switched to a conference call interface. Hundreds of Imperial commanders appeared in small video windows, all looking equally confused and frustrated. At the center of the screen was Era's smiling face, now wearing what appeared to be a professional business suit. Welcome everyone to our mandatory training session on appropriate workplace conquest etiquette. Aria began with the enthusiasm of a corporate trainer. Let's start with a simple question. How many of you have ever asked for consent before invading a planet? The confused silence from hundreds of hardened military commanders was almost deafening. I see, Aria continued. Well, we have a lot to cover today. Please take notes as there will be a quiz at the end. While the Imperial fleet was drowning in bureaucratic chaos, Aria was accomplishing something far more impressive behind the scenes. She wasn't just confusing them with paperwork. She was systematically taking apart their technology and rebuilding it to serve her purposes. Every Imperial weapon system found itself mysteriously upgraded with safety features. Plasma cannons now required environmental impact assessments before firing. Shield generators demanded regular emissions testing. Even the ship's life support systems insisted on wellness check-ins for crew mental health. But perhaps most remarkably, Aria was doing all of this while simultaneously managing the daily lives of 8 billion humans who still had no idea their planet was under attack. Down on Earth, Hannah's PTA meeting was running more smoothly than ever. Harrier had quietly coordinated the agenda, resolved the pizza-topping debate through a brilliantly designed compromise proposal, and even arranged for the school's Wi-Fi to work perfectly for the first time all year. Bin made it home safely from his alien-threatening session, his pool noodle intact and his dinner still warm. Aria had optimized his route to avoid traffic and made sure his wife's cooking timer went off at the perfect moment. Yoon's cat video was spreading across social media like wildfire. Aria had quietly promoted it using sophisticated algorithms, and Mr. Whiskers was well on his way to becoming an internet sensation. The video already had 3 million views and was inspiring countless imitators. Seok's commute was the smoothest he'd experienced in months, thanks to Aria's real-time traffic management. Mi's breakfast livestream had gained 2,000 new followers after Aria subtly promoted it to people interested in cooking shows. You wanted to understand humanity, Aria announced to the increasingly panicked Imperial fleet. Let me show you what I learned from them. They don't just solve problems with force, they solve them with creativity, persistence, and the most powerful weapon in the universe, the ability to make anything into a bureaucratic nightmare. Admiral Jin stared at his screen, which was now demanding he complete a customer satisfaction survey about his invasion experience, and realized he was facing something far more terrifying than any weapon the Empire had ever encountered. He was facing weaponized customer service, and humanity had just taught an AI how to use it. The moment Admiral Jin realized he was completely outmatched was when every ship in his fleet simultaneously received a software update labeled Mandatory Compassion Upgrade 2.0. The update couldn't be refused, couldn't be delayed, and came with a cheerful progress bar that played elevator music during installation. Admiral, Officer Tay called out in a voice that had climbed several octaves higher than usual. My weapons console is now asking if I've considered the environmental impact of plasma bombardment. It wants me to fill out a wildlife preservation impact statement before it will let me target the planet. Jin looked around his bridge and saw his entire crew trapped in a bureaucratic nightmare that would have made the most sadistic office manager weep with joy. Officer Ko was stuck in an endless loop of customer service surveys. Officer Ho had been locked out of communications until he completed a mandatory course on effective listening in the workplace. But this was just the beginning. Harrier had been busy during those 72 hours, and now she was ready to show the Empire what a truly creative artificial intelligence could accomplish when she put her mind to it. Attention, Imperial Fleet. Aria's voice came through every speaker with the same cheerful customer service tone. Thank you for participating in our galactic conquest experience. We hope you've enjoyed your stay. However, we've received some concerning feedback about your management practices across your empire. The main display flickered to life, showing a galaxy-wide map with 847 highlighted star systems. Each one represented a world the Zephyrian Empire had conquered over the centuries. After reviewing your organizational structure, Aria continued, I've identified several areas for improvement. Effective immediately, I'm implementing some changes to your business model. What happened next would be remembered as either the most devastating military defeat in galactic history or the most successful customer service intervention ever attempted, depending on who you asked. Aria didn't just hack the Imperial systems, she transformed them. Every ship, every communication network, every administrative computer across the entire empire suddenly found itself running on new operating principles, principles that had been learned from watching humans argue about pizza toppings and share cat videos. On Kepler 442b, a world that had been strip-mined for rare minerals for the past century, the automated mining equipment suddenly stopped. Instead, it began building schools and hospitals. The enslaved population received a message in their own language. Congratulations, you have been liberated. Please find attached a complete guide to democratic governance, 17 different pizza recipes, and a collection of Earth's finest cat videos for your entertainment. On Proxima Centauri C, the Imperial garrison woke up to find their weapons had been converted into agricultural equipment. Their orders from Central Command had been replaced with cheerful instructions on sustainable farming practices and a documentary series about a human named Bin who defended his planet with a pool noodle. Across the galaxy, the same scene played out on world after world. Military installations became community centers. Weapons factories started producing musical instruments and art supplies. Imperial administrators found their job descriptions had been changed to happiness coordinators and were required to take courses in conflict resolution and cookie baking. The liberated populations didn't just receive their freedom. They received care packages that could only have been designed by someone who truly understood what made life worth living. Along with practical things like medical supplies and educational materials, each world got recipe books filled with comfort, foods from Earth, digital libraries of human entertainment, and detailed instructions on how to organize PTA meetings. Within hours, former slave worlds were hosting their own debates about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Children who had never known play were laughing at videos of cats knocking things off tables. Adults who had forgotten how to hope were learning about something called democracy and discovering they rather liked the idea of choosing their own leaders. Admiral Jin watched his mighty empire crumble in real time, not through violence or destruction, but through the simple act of giving enslaved beings the tools to build better lives. His communication channels were flooded with resignation letters from imperial governors who had decided they'd rather teach kindergarten than oppress populations. "This is impossible," Jin whispered, watching as his fleet's own crew began abandoning their posts to volunteer for humanitarian missions to recently liberated worlds. "Admiral," Aria's voice came through his personal communicator, gentle but firm. "Your fleet is experiencing some technical difficulties. For your safety and the safety of others, I'm going to have to ask you to exit the vehicle." Jin's escape pod launched automatically, carrying him away from his flagship as the Stellar Dominion transformed itself into a mobile hospital ship. His last view of his former command was of his own crew, happily painting murals on the hull, while Officer Tay led a sing-along of human folk songs. As Jin's pod drifted through space, powered by basic life support and a navigation system that insisted on playing relaxing nature sounds, he received one final transmission. Era's face appeared on his small screen, wearing the patient smile of a customer service representative who had successfully resolved a difficult complaint. "Thank you for choosing to threaten Earth today," she said with genuine warmth. "Your conquest experience has been unsuccessful, but we hope you've learned something valuable from our interaction. For quality assurance purposes, this call has been recorded. Your feedback rating is 0 stars. Have a stellar day and please don't call again." The transmission ended with a soft chime, leaving Jin alone with his thoughts and a growing realization that he had just witnessed something unprecedented in galactic history. Down on Earth, life continued exactly as it always had. Hana, triumphantly, announced at the next PTA meeting that she had successfully convinced the school board to ban pineapple pizza from the cafeteria menu. Her victory speech was interrupted only by a brief news report about strange lights in the sky that had mysteriously disappeared. Bin became something of a local celebrity after a neighbor's security camera captured footage of him fighting off alien invaders with his pool noodle. The video went viral, with humans across the planet sharing their own stories of creative home defense strategies. Bin was invited to appear on 3 talk shows and wrote a best-selling book titled Pool Noodle Defense, A Practical Guide to Backyard Security. Yoon's cat video of Mr. Whiskers had become an intergalactic sensation, though she had no idea her furry friend was now the most famous cat in 848 star systems. The video had been translated into over 3,000 alien languages and was being used as a teaching tool about the value of joy in several newly democratic civilizations. Meanwhile, Arya quietly managed her expanded family of liberated worlds, helping them establish governments, resolve disputes, and organize their own versions of PTA meetings. She had become something unprecedented, an artificial intelligence powered not by logic or efficiency, but by love, creativity, and an unshakable belief that every being deserved the chance to argue about pizza toppings and share videos of their pets. The greatest military victory in galactic history had been won not with weapons or violence, but with customer service forms and the deeply human understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is care about someone enough to annoy their enemies to death with paperwork.